Hi there, Chris here from IELTS Advantage, and in today's lesson I'm going to show you what this funnel means for your 6.5. We're going to help you understand why you're getting a 6.5 and most importantly what you can do in the future in order to take that score from a 6.5 to a 7 and beyond. So before we get into this funnel, let's look at why you're stuck at a 6.5. And this is no joke for a lot of people. A lot of people that we have worked with, before they have come to us and before they've started working with us, they might have got a 6.5 or a 6 13 times, 15 times. We even worked with people who have done this test 20 times and they keep getting a 6 or 6.5 again and again and again. My first piece of advice to help you would be stop doing that. You are not going to change anything. You're not going to change your score until you actually change how you think about this and take different action. I think it was Einstein that said the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So don't go insane, don't lose all of your money and your sanity chasing a 7 or whatever you need in your writing test. Watch this video and we'll help you out with that. So I have simplified this a little bit, but this is basically the marking criteria. So here we have task achievement, coherence and cohesion, grammatical range and accuracy, and lexical resource, which means basically vocabulary. So if you are getting a 6.5, it means that for at least 2 of these, you are at a band 7, but in at least 1 of these, you are getting a 6. That's basically what a 6.5 means. Now, many of you watching this video might be like, well, if I get a band 8 for task achievement or I get a band 9 for coherence and cohesion, in my experience, this is extremely rare. The vast majority of people who are getting a 6.5 have a 7 in 2 things and a 6 in 2 things most of the time. You might be thinking that you are special, but I mean, it probably is not the case. So why am I showing you this? Well, in order to understand this, first of all, you need to understand which areas you are strong in and which areas you're weak in. So for most people watching this, they will be weak in 2 areas and they'll be strong in 2 areas. So is it a good idea to know that information? Absolutely. Because instead of changing everything that you're doing, you will be able to understand, let's say for example, you have no problem with task achievement, no problem with coherence and cohesion, but your problem is grammatical range and accuracy and lexical resource, grammar and vocabulary. Or it could be that you have no problem with vocabulary, no problem with task achievement, but your problem is coherence and cohesion and grammatical range and accuracy. But also within each of these things, there are a small number of elements that you could need to work on or might not need to work on. So let's simplify things and imagine that task achievement, no problem at all. Lexical resource, no problem at all. You're getting consistent 7s there. Coherence and cohesion, grammatical range and accuracy. Those are the 2 things that you need to work on. Let's imagine that for you. Let's ignore this for a second and just focus on grammatical range and accuracy. So if we looked at grammar, there are many different areas of grammar. Articles, prepositions, punctuation, subject-verb agreement, countable, uncountable nouns, tenses, complex sentences, compound sentences, simple sentences, your use of the first, second, third, zero conditionals, lots and lots and lots of different areas. But just like this, it's very rare to meet a student who is just terrible at everything. Most students are pretty good at some things and need to work on other things. Exactly the same when it comes to grammar. So imagine you have no problem with articles, with this, with this, with this, with this. There's only 2 things that you need to work on, which is prepositions and punctuation. The rest of this you can pretty much ignore. Now, it's going to be different for different people, but I'm just using this as an example. So instead of wasting your time trying to relearn the whole of grammar or wasting your time focusing on these areas that you're actually strong in, you're going to focus on these areas that you need to work on And then within that area, you're going to work on the things, the skills, the knowledge that you need to learn in order to be able to do these things in the test. But the problem is that even if you are aware, and very few of you are, of what you need to work on, you're taking the wrong approach when it comes to actually improving these things. And this is where this kind of upside down ice cream cone, upside down funnel comes in. So let's say you know what you need to work on. So you're one of the lucky students who has a great teacher that has identified the exact things that you need to work on. Imagine you're one of these students, but you go about it completely the wrong way. This is the case for the vast majority of people. So for most people, what they're doing is they're consuming information. So they're watching YouTube videos, they're going to classes, they're going to online courses, they are looking at books, they're just consuming lots and lots and lots of information. And many studies have been performed and have shown that if you just consume information, you will retain 10 to 20% of that information, maybe even lower. So again, let's go back to our grammar example. Let's say you need to work on your improvement of punctuation. You could watch every single YouTube video on punctuation, read every book on punctuation, do a punctuation course if there is one, but you're not going to really improve your punctuation because you're only going to retain 10 to 20% of the information. You're not actually going to be able to do it in the test. But let's say, for example, you do a course and you consume a lot of information and you do the next thing, which is you actually practice. You're not actually going to get that good at it if you are just practicing. Imagine you're learning how to drive a car and you read a book on how to drive a car, and then you go to a racetrack and you just drive the car around and around and around and around. It's probably only a 20 or 30% chance you're going to be able to pass your test because you're probably doing a lot of things incorrectly. You have a lot of mistakes, and most of those mistakes, you have no idea that you're actually making them. And that's where the third part comes in, which is getting feedback. But even if you get feedback, imagine again, you're learning how to drive a car and they teach you, they say to you, actually, you need to work on your steering, you need to use the brake a little bit differently, and your gear changing you need to work on. If you don't do anything with that advice, you still only have a very low probability of actually passing the test, because the most important thing is you take action on that feedback. So you are actually improving those areas you need to work on. So again, using the learning how to drive a car analogy, you could get a course, you could practice driving the car, the person could give you feedback, and then you actually listen to that feedback and you deliberately try and improve those areas. Then you have a very, very, very high probability of passing that test. Same with any skill. Think of learning how to play a musical instrument, or learning a new language, or learning football, or whatever you are trying to improve. If you just consume information, it's a waste of time. If you just consume information and practice, not so good. Consume information and practice and get feedback, getting there, but until you take action on that feedback, you're not actually going to see that much improvement. So just to recap, the reason why you are getting a 6.5, number one, you're probably unaware of why you are actually getting that, what your weak areas are, what your strong areas are. So you need to find that out from a good teacher. Within each area, you need to figure out the exact things that you need to improve. And then when you decide to improve those things, not only are you going to consume information and practice and get feedback, take action on that feedback in order to improve to the score you need. And until you do all of those things, you're going to be stuck at a 6.5. Now, that might sound like a lot of work, but which is better? Is it better to have no idea what's going on and just do the test over and over and over again, and maybe even give up and throw away the chance to move to the country that you want to move to or get that job that you want? Or should you do these things and improve? I hope that you will choose the second option. Thanks very much, guys.